let's take just a minute to talk about some things that you need to be including in your bug out bag. Now, I didn't say everything for your bug out bag. This isn't a build a complete bug out bag video, but I think we need to discuss a few things that you should not overlook and include these things in your next refugee outing preparedness plan or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, let's go over a couple things. Y'all stick around. Let's talk about a bug out bag in a little bit different aspect of thought. What I want you to think of your bug out bag of is this. All of the stuff that the internet says for the bug out bag with the survival stuff and the wandering through the vast wilderness, all of that still applies. But shift the focus of your bug out bag just a little bit. If you have any, opinions, just put those in a drawer for a second, at least for this video. And then whenever we're done with the video, you can take them back out of the drawer and you can put that hat back on. But just bear with me for a second. We have actually used our bug out bags multiple times. Not a bunch, but we have used them. And primarily what they've been is a 3-day overnight bag. And in that 3-day overnight bag, we also had certain things that we wanted to be able to keep track of. There were times when we had to send somebody to go get our kids and meet us at another place. That happened back in February of last year, or this year actually. So that's where I want to start with what I'm going to call the documentation kit. What's up? Future me here. I wanted to talk about this a little bit deeper. I kind of mentioned it in the main video, but this is a really cool piece of kit, and I thought I'd just kind of elaborate on it a little bit more. So in true amateur fashion, with a dirty camera lens on top of the wife's car, this is just a little Goal Zero little battery pack, charger, lantern, flashlight thing. And of all the things that I've used in my bug out bag, this has probably been the most used of all of them. Let's face it, we live in a world where cell phones and tablets and stuff like that, we actually need those. Those are a necessity now. And this right here does really good. I looked on Amazon. I guess they've discontinued this model, but they have an update to it. The only difference is it doesn't have this little hand crank charger. With that being said, I've never actually used that. It's always just kept charged with solar. And I may have charged it like 2 or 3 times in the almost 10 years that I've had this thing. But it does have the USB port. I think the new one has USB and USB-C. It's got, your flashlight, the red light, which I've never used, and the lantern, which actually does a really, really good job of putting out a good amount of light. But this thing, we use it all the time. We've used it for camping and all sorts of stuff. You can see it's got dust and stuff all over it. The Goal Zero stuff can be pretty expensive. But with that being said, you get what you pay for. And I think, there's probably other ones you can buy of these. I've dropped this thing. It's tumbled and fallen off the four-wheeler, and it's still alive. So that actually says quite a bit. So yeah, I'll post some Amazon links to this thing and maybe a couple other things that I think are kind of cool in the description and in the comments below. Now back to the video. This is my documentation kit. I'm not going to show you what's inside it because don't be creepy, bro. But what this kit has in it is it has maps. It has instructions on what needs to be done, what needs to be grabbed. It's a good idea to take one of these and put it in everybody's vehicle. If something happens and your 16, 17-year-old son or daughter is at school and they receive word that they need to get somewhere, having the same set of documentation kit for everybody in the family where you can say, okay, go to page 7 down to paragraph 2 and go to option B. That's just, where you're at, this is where we're going, And if you'll flip over another 3 or 4 pages, there's a map that'll show you how to get there. Don't use your GPS because I-40 is completely jacked. You're never going to get there. It's standstill traffic. So it's nice to have that documentation. Along with that is this particular one has our, this is where we store our marriage license, you know, our important paperwork. This is where we store our birth certificates and things like that. This stays in a bag, which stays in the closet on the filing cabinet so that we know where it's at. And that way we know whenever we grab the bag that this is here. And as a side benefit, you know, anything, you know, passports, copies of family photos, all of that stuff, it's right here. We always know where it's at. We don't have to search for that type of thing because that's where we keep it. It stays in the bug out bag, and the bug out bag stays on the filing cabinet. Now, keep in mind, everybody in your household is going to need their own bug out bag. So, you know, keep the originals in one. A duplicate of this with just photocopies of the rest of it in everybody else's bag that actually needs one. You don't have to, you know, the 4-year-old kid doesn't need a copy of my marriage license, for example. Along with that, in here, we also keep extra chargers. Now, my wife has an iPhone Lightning charger. I have USB-C. There's a couple things that run off of, you know, micro USB. And so we have an abundance of those. We've got all different types of chargers. Just the little short ones, because that's all we need. They're in here as well. One thing, I was looking through this earlier, we need some of the 12-volt car adapters to put those in here. We don't have those. We've just got a couple power bricks in there. And while we're on that subject, this is a product that I kind of wanted to show you. I've had this forever. This is Goal Zero, but it gives you the opportunity to hand crank. It will charge all of your devices, but we've actually used this thing quite a bit. Always just lay it solar side up and the sun takes care of it. It's always charged for me. So that would be a good thing to include in this as well. Just a set of work gloves. It's amazing how many people, if you want to use, you know, your mechanics shooting gloves, that's fine. I also, in addition to that, keep a set of work gloves, some safety glasses. You probably need a set of tinted and clear safety glasses as well. There's been times whenever there's been dust storms. What if you wind up walking through the woods at night? Until you've poked a stick in your eye doing that, you don't quite understand the value of safety glasses. If you're having to use your bug out bag, things are already going pretty bad. You know, basically become a voluntary refugee at that point. So protect your eyes, protect your hands. If something happens with your eyes or your hands, you're useless. You can't do jack shit. Also keep a whoopee blanket, just your standard poncho liner. Fits in this stuff sack. This has been used a lot, actually. My bug out bag is also my 3-day overnight bag. When the kids were younger, we went to my wife's parents' house for Christmas Eve so that the kids could wake up there on Christmas. This right here went with us. It already had a change of clothes in it. It already had some base layers like thermals that I could change into as pajamas. It already had all of that stuff there. The fact that it had another additional small survival kit in it didn't detract from the usefulness of the bag. Headlamps. I've got a whole bunch of them. I'm not going to drag them all out and show them to you right now. I used to say you always needed like a double or AAA headlamp. I've changed my thoughts on that recently. The USB rechargeable headlamps are really good now. And there's a whole bunch of different brands. I've ditched all of my ones that take removable batteries. Everywhere we go, we've got chargers. I already mentioned I've got a couple of chargers in my documentation kit. But I've also got, everybody, including my main bug out bag, has an extra, little charging brick, to keep your phones and stuff charged. So as long as that thing's charged up beforehand and you've got charged up power banks to be able to power that stuff, and you're not being an idiot about using your headlamp and only using it whenever you need it, there's really no reason to have to carry all those batteries anymore. The lithium rechargeable batteries have just become so much better recently. Flashlight, yes, you need one of those, but if you've done any amount of work, realizing the utility of having a headlamp is undeniable. And a lantern of some kind, you know, so you can get some area light is absolutely valuable as well. So much more useful and user-friendly than just, you know, holding a flashlight and yelling at your kids, telling them to keep it straight and everything else. Another thing I like to keep is some sort of balaclava, mostly just for inclement weather. But there might come a time whenever you don't necessarily need your face shown, and you can cover that up, put on some glasses, you know, and stay pretty well anonymous wherever you may go. Now, if it's anything official, you need to remember they're going to be tracking your cell phone and everything else, even if it's turned off. So keep that in mind. One thing I forgot to mention about the documentation kit is passwords. Passwords for everything. Even your social media accounts, all of that stuff needs to be written down in that bag as well. Socks. If you're gonna only include one piece of clothing, it needs to be a pair of socks. I'll put some links below to the socks that I like. I wear 100% wool socks year round. In the wintertime, I wear a heavyweight sock. In the summertime, I wear a lightweight sock. 100% wool. I like Darn Tough, Omni Wool, and Smart Wool. Once you buy those socks, you will never purchase another pair of cotton socks ever again. But being able to change your socks and keep your feet fresh is absolutely amazing. A change of underwear would be good for that also. Anyway, guys, we're going to keep this video relatively short. These are just a few things that you probably need to include. It's not a comprehensive bug out bag list, but these are things that I know the times we've had to use our bug out bags, I was absolutely glad we had. And I have never in my bug out bag had to use my fire starter or my compass or an axe. But every single one of the things that I've mentioned today, I actually needed. They actually got used. Aside from like birth certificates and stuff, but the documentation kit absolutely got used. The last bug out scenario we had, our primary location was shut down. It was consumed by fire. It was 60 miles away from our home. So we had to go to a backup plan. And that's where, you know, making sure you gather all of the things that we need comes in handy. Open up the book to page whatever and have a checklist, right? So, you know, you grab everything. You know, did you get the dogs but forget the dog food? Do you have a leash for everybody? You know, things like that. But that documentation kit is really probably the most powerful, most useful, and most important thing included in the bug out bag. Family pictures. Save all of that stuff on a USB drive. Full high definition photos so you can get that stuff back. I used to have some paintings up here. I replaced it with, you know, Granddad's Spurs. But a lot of the paintings that my grandmother did, I'd really like to be able to, even if I lose the originals, be able to, you know, reframe those off of a print. So really put some thought into that documentation kit, and that could probably serve as its own video by itself. But anyway, guys, if you stuck around this long, I appreciate it. Consider subscribing, hit the thumbs up, and leave a comment for the algorithm. And until next time, y'all be safe.